Yeah. So Jacob, um, what is your position on created effects, created grace?
What about it, man?
Like Thomistic created grace. Do you believe it?
Thomistic created grace?
Yep.
No, I don't believe in created grace.
Why?
Is it I mean, doesn't it introduce like an intermediary between God and creation?
Um, I would say that there needs to actually be an intermediary. So,
So the
like,
deification is dependent on something created?
well, the deification begins and ends, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it means it's depending on something created rather than direct participation in divine life.
Okay. Do you agree that when something begins and ends, that means it's created?
Sure.
Okay. Does theosis begin and end?
What do you think?
Yes. There's a beginning to theosis and an end to theosis. Meaning that it's created. Like,
Wait, hold on,
I
hold on,
think
hold on, hold on. When does it end? Because when do we fully exhaust the divine life?
so. This would be considered like the
That's
aeons,
a
right?
good rebuttal.
No, hold
I'll
on.
tell.
When is it? No, when? Hold on. When does it end? Because when do we exhaust divine life? Because it would be everlasting. It wouldn't be eternal. It would just be everlasting from this point forth. Where do you
So
find
when
from this
we
point to
one
this point?
second, 1 second. So that's what's called an aeon, right? So like heaven is created, but it like lasts forever,
Yeah, so it would be
right?
everlasting then. So there is no end point.
Okay, that mean it still doesn't mean it's not created. It still has a beginning.
Yeah, but you claim that it has an end. So are
Okay,
you gonna
as I said,
retract that or?
okay, I would check that as a beginning, therefore it's created.
Yeah, there. Okay.
Okay, there you go, it's created. So here's another argument. If there is no created intermediary by which God bestows his grace through the works in creation, then it leads to eternal creation, it leads to originism.
You mean eternal progression or?
Okay, let me explain this. Um, let's say Jesus healing the paralytic, for example, right?
Mhm.
Was that so? God, when he bestowed the uncreated energy upon the paralytic, right? When Jesus did, that uncreated energy could only be participated in by a created intermediary, right? Because
Mhm.
otherwise it would lead to where Christ is eternally healing a paralytic. And Sangar Palamos actually covers this in his letter to Aquinas. He states that the works that God does within creation are created, but through those created effects, we can participate in the uncreated energies, he says very clearly. He doesn't use the term created effects, but he uses the term created manifestations or phanerosis. So through created manifestations in time and space, we can participate and experience uncreated energies. And that's actually what the Palamite Synod say, the Fourth Palamite Synod. Like J. Dyer likes to hold the position that we literally like there's no created manifestation or intermediary. And I just argue that it leads to originism or emanationism.
I don't really follow J Dyer.
Huh?
I don't really tend to watch J Dyer.
It's fine. You don't have to. I'm just stating the opposite position. Right?
I'm huh. I need to
Like,
listen to this again. This is interesting though.
okay. Here's a
Could
question, Abysmal.
okay.
Did God temporally or eternally bestow grace upon the paralytic? You there?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Tim. Okay.
I mean, like so I want to say eternal because, 'cause, 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 '
I think you need to be very careful what you say next.
Okay.
Did did God eternally bestow grace upon a created being, or did
Not
he?
in that way, right? Not in the way that, he's not adding grace to something that wasn't there before. It's more of like a restoration from like the eternal source of grace.
Okay,
That
when
sustains
God
it. You see what I
healed the
mean?
paralytic,
So it's
did the
a
paralytic's healing have a beginning and an end, or was it eternal? Was Jesus
the
Christ
paralytics.
eternally healing a paralytic?
No,
No, right?
no, but it's
He
y-
was okay. So
yeah,
he was
no,
temporally healing a paralytic.
correct. In a
Okay.
particular point in time and place, but the power by which the paralytic is healed is an eternal, right? Is eternal. So
Right, but that
it's
that
in it,
okay, I know
right?
I
So
believe in the eternal
in the way
power. I don't
in the
disagree.
way that grace is instantiated, even once through time, is is eternally instantiated.
So we would say that the grace by
But it's not
that
adding something
one
to
second, the
someone's.
grace that the paralytic received
Mhm.
was uncreated, but he only received it through a
Right. It's an
created thing,
uncreated
right?
grace. Correct.
But right. So this is the view of Saint Palamos. We can participate in the uncreated energies through created effects or manifestations or intermediaries. That's the entire view, and it's the exact same view of Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah.
Right. Because let's say there was no created intermediary. He would be eternally bestowing a gift upon a paralytic. Are you
Right.
serious? I mean, that's,
But he's not
yeah, that's
adding
the,
anything to his essence.
right, right.
But it doesn't mean that to be like fully quote unquote capable human or post resurrected body, like glorified body, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that to the fuck was I trying to say? It doesn't mean that to be a glorified body is somehow to be different from what it essentially means to be a human. I don't know
Right.
if I'm making any
And,
sense.
and here's how I understand this, right? Like, okay, um, I think it's very clear that there has to be some type of created intermediary by which we participate or experience the uncreated. There's just no other possible way, right?
That's the whole point. That's the whole that's the whole thesis behind transubstantiation.
Right. Yes. So here's what Jay
It's
usually admits to
in
be
your
out.
language,
Mhm.
it's uncreated grace received through created means. That's literally
Exactly.
transubstantiation.
Yes. Yes. That is what we believe. Yes. And that's the Orthodox position. That's literally the position of St. Gary Palamas. But these online EO diorites have hijacked what we believe. And they actually believe that God has passive potency to deny Actus Purus. Now, isn't that insane?
Wait, passive potency. I'm not as familiar with Palamos. I need to look at it, but
Not Palamas, J. Dyer
okay.
believes God has passive potency. Like he's not Actus Purus. I
The
mean,
fuck?
that's the biggest bullshit I've heard ever.
Like a passive munera? Like a contemplative office? He's passively contemplating the possibilities.
No, passive potency means that God can change. That's what he believes. I mean, isn't that the most stupidest shit you've heard? His argument to defend his position is that God can change. God can. Okay, God's not perfect then if he can change.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
how is he trying to how does he come up with this distinction that there's a passive potency that assumes that there's an active potency? You know what I mean? Like,
there is an
is that
active
distinction
potency, but
ever
not a
made?
passive. There is an active potency. Thomas Aquinas even affirms this, but not a passive
Okay.
potency.
What
Yeah.
does how does Thomas articulate active potency?
Active potency is change in respect to others, and passive potency is change internal to yourself. So let me give you an example.
Wait, what?
Um, Let
Okay.
me give you an example. Okay, this is active potency. Imagine you had a brother, right? And you were shorter than your brother. Or forgive me, you were taller than your brother, right? So you have the title of taller and your brother has the title of shorter. Now let's say your brother grows. You don't change, but your brother grows and he grows taller than you. What does that
So
make
he had
you?
active potency towards taking the title of taller brother? That's fucking
No, no, no.
stupid.
No, 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 no. No, no, no. No, no. I'm trying to help you understand.
Okay.
Okay. Brother A and brother B. Brother A is shorter than brother B. Brother B has the title taller, right? Brother A has the title shorter. Brother A grows above brother B. Brother B is now shorter. Now, the title that the brother B has changed. So he changed, but he did not internally change. There was no internal change for brother B. There was only an internal change for brother A, i.e., him growing taller. The only change per se that you can speak of for brother B was only in relation to brother A,
And
because
not the
brother B
title
had no.
itself. Is
Yeah,
that the
so
point?
the title itself is the only thing that changed. Yeah,
That's what
that's
I
what
that's what I was trying to get at. This seems like a fucking stupid distinction.
that's just what active potency is. It's just like
So then,
I I'm not internally changing. My title is changing though in relation to you changing. It's the change that occurs within others that changes you, not in the sense that you have internal change.
yeah, this seems
Passive
kind of
potent.
like a stupid. This seems more like an arbitrary distinction
Why?
because the fucking title has no sovereignty.
I don't even think you understand the point.
I understand the example, right? But that's kind of like
Change in relation to others versus
there's going to
change
be all
internal to
sorts of
you.
conventions that we're going to have, right? That are going to be established on quote unquote active potencies. You know what I mean? But
Okay,
we usually don't identify those conventions in any substantial sense to any person in regards to their accidental properties. You get what I mean?
it's
So,
change in relation to someone else and change intrinsically to you. That's the distinction between active and passive potency.
but what? Okay, so then, okay, all right, fine. What is change in relations to oneself?
Change internal, that would be passive potency. So
No, I
like
understand.
something
What,
intrinsic and internal to you goes from potency to act.
like an emotion or something?
Yeah, like okay, I was walking and then I stopped walking.
Wait,
Um,
what?
yeah, I
No,
have the
okay, okay,
potential.
listen, I'm not getting frustrated at you. I'm just okay. Continue. Yeah,
Okay,
I just hope you. I'm just like reacting because I'm very skeptical of this distinction. But go ahead.
okay. I have the potency to feel angry. And that potency, right, can be actualized, meaning that I cannot just be potentially angry, I can become actually angry. That is passive potency. That's change internal to yourself. Change in relation to others, passive potency, is where there is no intrinsic change within you. There's only a change with respect to title in reference to other people's change within themselves.
But that's the thing about internal states. Like the thing is like, yeah, this seems like an arbitrary distinction to me, to be quite honest, to begin with. What? Okay, but I appreciate this because now I'm curious about how St. Thomas talks about active and passive potency in other contexts.
That's how he defines it.
This seems really stupid. Like just right off the bat. This seems like this could be like um like a residual like ambiguity from just Aristotelian physics. Yeah, this kind of seems like a stupid distinction to me. Because in a conventional way, right? From a nominalist point of view, like They're just fucking words. You know what I mean? Whether it's a fucking title or we're talking about some internal state. Like it's hard to distinguish, right? Like
Nominalists can't justify they can't deny potency.
I'm not saying that they would. What I'm trying to say is that like okay, what's the difference between a title and the word anger?
The word okay, anger refers to a state within yourself, within your body.
That's wholly independent of active potency.
Yes. So
How?
like okay, let me
Yeah,
explain.
no,
So
I know I sound like super frustrated. It's because I'm more like perplexed in my own mind right now.
okay, okay.
You, yeah,
You can have passive potency and active potency in the same respect, but God can't.
yeah, but that's
God
stupid,
only
right? That's an appeal to mystery distinction, man. Fuck that. It's just potency. Like, I don't know if I'm making any sense. Like,
no, you're not, because Aristotle makes this distinction as well.
does he
I
really?
think
Okay,
yes. Look at just bro, consult GPT, bro. Consult
okay,
ChatGPT.
okay. This seems like a really stupid distinction to me.
Active and passive potency. I think that's very important actually. It's how we get rid of eternal creation as a distinction.
So then how does Jay Dyer go? God has passive potency. He just says that God because you can't prove that God doesn't change internally, therefore he has passive potency. Hello?
He doesn't argue that, but the first statement I would make is that we can prove that God can't change internally. But
Okay.
so Jay Dyer believes that God has passive potency because he believes that it leads to eternal creation if he doesn't have passive potency. And I think his argument is very stupid and very flawed and very dumb. And my argument goes like this: Can perfect things change?
No.
Okay, no. Is God perfect?
Yes.
The fuck you go. He can't change. Shit. Wow, guys, that was so
Yeah, it would be a
hard.
violation of principle of identity if you assumed that he wasn't
That was
perfect.
so hard,
It's
guys, wasn't
like,
it? Wasn't it?
yes, P equals P.
Okay, right. Guys, dude, I just had to give you a whole 2-hour philosophy lecture on that. Jeez, guys.
It was good.
Fucking stupid. No, I'm just saying they're fucking stupid. I think
I
Jedi
want to
is
look at
retarded.
I want to look at more like the rationale behind this active versus passive potency. I need to go find it now
No problem.
because this
Consult
seems kind of
GPT, bro.
stupid. Because there's no rule of excluded middle between titular. I understand what you're saying, right? What the distinction could be. I'm just more perplexed by like part of being composite. It's almost like to assume that an eternal state is abstracted from oneself. That doesn't make any sense. Am I making any sense?
Okay. Yes, you are.
Because part of being composite is just you're just always contingent, and the only metaphysical question is whether in what ways one is contingent upon God and in what ways are one contingent upon, other secondary causation. That's it. So then how is the internal state abstracted from that which is that which is essentially contingent? This if you were to use an example like a soul can undergo like change from one state to another, but that's not what we mean by like sin or the dynamic of sin. right? It's just going to be a gradation rather of privation for or against God. You know what I mean? Or away from God. It's not like an ontological reality. The soul as it's given is always quote unquote in an original state. It's just not in an original state of justice, but original sin, original separation. And it's always described that the soul is the seat of consciousness.
Right.
I don't. Hmm. This seems like a needless abstraction to me. This distinction.
No, it's needed
Okay.
for to get out of the eternal creation dilemma.
What is this? You have. Oh.